Welcome back, guys. We are back here, and this week I'm back in equipment. Very, very exciting. Sorry for the lack of video on Wednesday. I got snowed in the mountains in Montana. It was awesome. My fiance and her family and I went down there, did some snowboarding in probably the best conditions I've ever seen. Snowshoeing in like chest high snow. It was really awesome. So unfortunately, you guys didn't get a video Wednesday because of that, so I apologize. But we are here to recap the week's training. And Monday was back in the squat suit and wraps. It was kind of cool and fun and terrible using a brand new pair of signature gold wraps and wrapping myself. So I did the Adam Ramsey wrap. You guys can reference that back further in the channel. Adam Ramsey did a great spiel actually on wrapping yourself and how to do that. So I definitely referenced that video heavily when I squatted on Monday. Worked up to singles at 300, 305, and 310, and then did a set of 4 at 275. Everything felt great, zero pain in the hip. Depth was good on my last rep with 310, but a little bit on the line with 300 and 305. I think speeding it up a little bit on the way down made a big difference, and that helped quite a bit. Got into the bench shirt, 3 singles at 220. First one sucked really bad, but I got a touch and managed to lock it out, but my butt was probably 4 inches off the bench, so that was not pretty at all, and I think it bounced off the rack on the way up. It was terrible. Focusing too much on trying to get the touch there, need a little bit more weight on the bar, I think. Took 220 a second time, and that time was a bit better, bit more speed, didn't touch, but it was better grooved. And then the third one was pretty close to a touch actually, and had the best groove of them all. I think I just really need to focus on pulling it in really hard and just get more weight on the bar, I think is the biggest thing. Set of 5 at 190 after that, went pretty well. Came in yesterday, did my deadlifts, worked up to a single at 315, that went really, really smoothly. Then a bunch of volume, I think 5 triples at 297. Today, close grip and rows, pretty boring. Tomorrow I'm gonna do my competition squat, raw squat, and my competition raw bench, and then back in the suit to pull some deadlifts on Sunday. Unfortunately, because of the way that training got sort of mushed up, I'm gonna be training 10 days in a row here. So we're not gonna have tomorrow's raw squat, raw bench footage in the video. We're gonna add in the deadlifts when we do it. I think I'll be pulling 325 to 335 somewhere in there for a single, and then a set of 5. So next up, I have something I really wanna share with you guys. I've had a couple of questions now. People ask me what references I use, what sort of books I reference. So I got a great resource sent to me by a friend of mine named Dr. Mark Morris. Mark is a doctor in human nutrition, and he has also spent some time as an instructor at the University of Saskatchewan, I believe, as well as being a powerlifting coach for somewhere around 5 years. He was one of the guys who helped me achieve my world record at North Americans a year or two back there. So obviously right off the bat, I have a lot of faith in this guy. He sent me this book, asked me to take a look at it, and I kind of wanted to shout it out to you guys because I thought it was great. The book is called The Way of the Weigh-In, and it's all about cutting weight for powerlifting meet. So there's some good resources out there, but I think most of them are more tailored for a 24-hour weigh-in, whereas I don't think there's any sort of concrete reference guide for cutting weight for a 2-hour weigh-in that I've seen. And I think this is a great resource for people who cut weight often or even sometimes. He goes over, how you might want to go about your cut depending on how much you have to lose, whether you're looking to try and lose tissue, whether you're looking to manipulate sodium, carbs, food intake, switch to liquid food, things like that. He talks about all that in there. So great resource. Check it out for sure at thewayoftheweighin.com. And definitely big shout out to Mark on that. Congratulations, huge accomplishment. And I thought it was fantastic. So moving on to the question of the day today, we have a question from a guy who calls himself Beef Titan, which I've always found kind of hilarious. Now he said that obviously you guys have sort of seen my progression from injured to less injured unfold, but he's wondering how to program coming off of an injury. He just got the okay to push the load on his knee, and after 3 months off, he's trying to figure out how to get back into things. This is a question I think a lot of people address at some point in time throughout their training career, because I think everybody kind of comes up against that wall at some point or another, unfortunately. The biggest thing I'm gonna stress is that you need to create a progression. It needs to be slow, and you need to stick with it and not push ahead when things start to feel good. I'm working with Dylan. As I mentioned in a previous, we talked about Dylan's injury in a Form Check Friday just recently, but Dylan has a similar hip injury to mine, and I'm programming for him. Essentially, we just started off with a very starting strength-esque, I believe Bill Starr, his name is. But basically, you're just doing sort of moderate sets, moderate reps, like 3 sets of 5, 5 sets of 3, things like that. But you're starting with like 35, 40% intensity and adding 5 to 10 pounds a week. Maybe working in some accessory or secondary movements as you get a little bit further down the road, because that's gonna then force you to limit the weight you're putting on the bar. So for Dylan, we have him doing some pause squats and some pause deadlifts and things like that, because we know that even giving him an RPE and as opposed to a percentage, it's gonna limit the amount of weight he can put on the bar. So essentially we wanna keep the intensity very low and we wanna stay out of the pain threshold. One of the things that I've worked with Rory on and Mike as well is sort of keeping that pain below maybe a 3 out of 10 if you were to rate your pain. We don't wanna be going beyond that, because oftentimes then we're exacerbating the symptoms and making things worse and causing inflammation, etc. So if it hurts, basically don't do it, or do it lighter so that it doesn't hurt. One of the other things that's really important is to make sure you're taking a look at the way that you're moving. Let's say it's a chronic injury and it comes from your bench press. You're gonna have to analyze your bench press, play with your grip width, play with your back tightness, play with your setup, and change enough things around that you can try to find a pain-free range of motion. That's hugely important, because if you don't change your technique, especially if it's a chronic injury, if it's something acute like you tore a pec, maybe a little bit of a different story, but if it's a chronic injury that keeps occurring, you're doing something technically wrong. So you need to take a look at your technique, alter that, and then progress very slowly back up to working weights. And you need to accept that it's gonna be a long-term solution. There's no sexy answer, there's no quick fix for like a magic progression. It just needs to be low and slow. We're going to be sitting down and working through all the contest entries right away here. We will be posting, probably the same day as this video comes out, we're gonna be posting the results of the contest, the winners, and we had so many great submissions for the stupid setups. We're probably gonna send out a couple of t-shirts for runners up, because you guys are awesome and those were hilarious. That about sums it up for this week. I'm stoked to do some raw squat and bench tomorrow and some suited deadlifts on Sunday. And we'll see how that goes and get right back into the suit on Monday. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Leave a like, comment below. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.